Alright, well, before the journey continues, it is high time I try and write as many of my thoughts and theories on my notepad here and see if I can come up with new ideas as well. I have done some extensive research and sure enough, there's a lot of things to write down. And well, with that being said, this is going to be split into two parts. The first part is going to be me reviewing the mystery thus far and what theories I came up with during the adventure and new theories or leads I followed right now. And second part is going to be me singing praises to you. I say my thoughts about Umineko thus far, even though it's mostly going to be me singing praises to Umineko and what it has done thus far and all that. So, yeah, let's get to it. First off, I think that one of the core elements that will play a huge role in the entirety of this mystery is the discussion that Beatrice and Bernd Castell had in what I'm gonna call the witch world for now, and more importantly, the advice that Bernd Castell told me. So let's go through that a little bit here before I continue. Bernd Castell told us this about Beatrice, that Beatrice is her name, but she is no one individual woman. She is not some human, capital H. Don't you think I didn't notice that? Her existence is a personification of the rules of this world, the witch world. So, in order to defeat her, we have the following. Expose the rules of the witch world and unravel them. By that I mean learn the rules and use them against her. Look at the chessboard, and I'm gonna say that that's Rokenjima Island, and learn the movements of the pieces. Basically, learn what every human did on the island during those 2 days, is what I'm assuming is what that means. Learn the roles of the pieces, and by that I think that means learn everyone's true identity. Some may hid themselves as Beatrice's friends, demons and witches and all that, so I'm definitely gonna have to pay attention to that. And I do have some stuff to say about that, but that's gonna come up a little bit later. And the final one, look for the conditions required to win at Beatrice's game. When all is revealed, her heart will be exposed, ready to be defeated. At this point, it does seem to be made clear that apparently this game that Beatrice is playing is gonna repeat itself for a while. Like, she is the endless witch. And as I seen with what happened on Rokenjima and at the tea party, she sure likes to kill people, only to resurrect them and then kill them again as she pleases. I mean, she said it herself at the hidden tea party, that she went to go and prepare the next chessboard, meaning that the massacre of Rokenjima will repeat itself again, is what I'm assuming. Whether under the same conditions as before or in completely different circumstances. So basically, what needs to be done is break this loop that Beatrice is creating and defeat her to free the human players. I mean, that is what I think it is about. For now, that is. I think that is sort of the thing that is going on over here. Also, the work talks of the existence of this Lambda Delta witch that is also fairly powerful. Like, Beatrice and Pierre Costello were discussing over who is more powerful than who. And I think that the best kind of explanation for it that is easier to digest will be to say that it is similar to rock, paper, scissors. Bear Costello apparently is powerful enough to beat Lambda Delta, and apparently Lambda Delta can beat Beatrice, and there is no doubt that at this point Beatrice is more powerful than Bernd Castell, reason why she came to see the game as an observer and try to somehow trick Beatrice and possibly defeat her, to dethrone her. And well, with that being said, it would seem that, as far as I can see, this is all like a game of power of sorts, like of who can become the Grand Witch or something. And for now, it seems that Beatrice occupies that first place. Like, that is what I'm getting out of this whole thing, about the discussion that we had at the hidden tea party and all that. But all of this is stuff that will be important in the grand scheme of things, like the whole mystery of sorts. For now, we still have to focus on the Rokenjima mass murder case, and since there are so many things in this that are really important and should absolutely not be forgotten, I made a pinboard of sorts, a very key element that I can think of at this point. The Rokenjima mass murder case, which encompasses the 5 murder cases that happened in the second day of Rokenjima, and all this surrounded by other keywords that are of interest to me and worth pursuing, some more than others. Boo. Okay, well, let's start with the easy ones. Or ones that don't seem as relevant to the entirety of the mystery, but may lead us to something. First off, the Tori disappearance. Now, when it was discovered at the beginning that the gate disappeared, some of the family members argued that maybe it fell into the water or something at some point. Me, I remember theorizing that maybe Kinzo got rid of it because, well, it is Japanese, and we ain't having none of that on this island. No. Because, he's so obsessed with Beatrice that he started to make everything English. He's mentioned the name of some of his siblings, etc. However, we recently learned that Kinzo knew Beatrice before 1952, when he built the mansion, and she died before it was built, so no doubt his love for Beatrice and his obsession with English things is from there. And granted, even when I theorized before about the Tori disappearance, it was questionable, but still a theory I had nonetheless. But in that case, why did he even make that Tori gate in the first place? Or, if the gate was there even before the construction of the mansion, why not tear that gate down from the beginning? Why did he wait 30 years or so to do it? So, yeah, I doubt that this has something to do with him not liking the Tori gate because it wasn't English enough or something like that. Something happened to the Tori gate for it to disappear. Either Kinzo had some reason for getting rid of it, a reason we don't know of yet, or somebody else got rid of it for some unknown reason. I mean, let's not forget that we're talking about a freaking toy. It's not something you can get rid of easily. It's huge. So, with that being said, I have two new possibilities. Either Kraus got rid of it because it was part of his plan to turn the island into a resort, in which case, this doesn't have much relevance. It is that mundane. And I'm having my doubts about that because Kraus did seem like this was part of his plan and he wanted to keep it a secret from Kinzo. In which case, getting rid of the Tori gate seems like kind of a big thing that Kinzo surely would have noticed at some point. Therefore, suspicions would have been raised about Kraus's actions of getting rid of that Tori gate, and Kinzo would have done something about that, so I don't know. And the other possibility that I'm thinking of is it's magic. I mean, this is gonna sound like a really crazy thing to imagine, and trust me, I'm gonna be doing that a lot in this. But with what I have seen lately with Beatrice and Ben Castell and this world that they live in and chessboards and magic, it kind of makes me think that maybe the island is a recreation of the original one. Like, once we enter the premises of the Rokkenjima Island, the first thing that tells us that something is not right is that Tori gate, and how it wasn't there anymore. Maybe Beatrice created this chessboard with different tweaks here and there for some reason, and that could explain why the Tori gate is not there, even though originally it is there. That, or it's not really a new world created by Beatrice, because, I mean, not only was it that, well, she wasn't revived at that point, you would think that when you revive someone as powerful as Beatrice, when they are revived, that is when they get their full power. Does that mean that she had that kind of power even before she was revived? I don't know. Like, I'm thinking that maybe it's not a new world created by Beatrice, but rather she sent us into a different timeline where the Tori was never there to begin with. Or somebody got rid of it a long time ago in that timeline. In which case, it ain't the first time I hear this, like traveling through different timelines, and like it ain't my first rodeo. It is what I'm trying to say over here. So, yeah, those are the two possibilities, and I can't say that I can talk much else about it at this point about it because I don't have any other evidence. I'm just listing my possibilities. And that's something that I'm gonna be doing a lot for the other topics that I'm gonna be discussing in this. Next is the Mr. Rose incident, and oh boy. Okay, so now this, just like the Tori disappearance, I had 2 or 3 possibilities. two of which are like the most mundane possibilities I can think of. And the third one goes into magic territory once again, like you really have to stretch your imagination on this one. So, for the magical possibility, I was thinking that someone got rid of Mr. Rose in the garden, knowing that it would result in Maria having a temper tantrum, and then Rosa coming in to violently hit her to calm down. That they were able to read into the future, knowing that this would happen. Now, it could be Beatrice, it could be any witch or demon, or it could be any of the humans on this island that have some sort of power to read into the future. Like, that is my magic possibility, and like I said, it kind of makes me like stretch my imagination to think of this sort of stuff, given that we're talking about witches and magic and all that. The other possibilities, which I found to be really mundane, are either Mr. Rose got carried away by the wind and flew away, or something that I noticed was that maybe Goda used Mr. Rose and other roses in the garden to prepare the dinner, because remember when Goda described the dinner and had some rose petals in it? That could have been Mr. Rose as well. That, or if we are to combine that with a magical possibility, maybe Goda had magic powers and can read into the future, and he made the dinner with the rose petals from Mr. Rose, on top of making that scene in the garden with Maria and Rosa. Now that is pretty fucking sick. That is pretty sick, if you were to ask me. But okay, here's the thing though about the Mr. Rose incident. I actually mentioned these possibilities on my Discord server, and I wasn't expecting any confirmation of whether my theories were right or wrong or anything, but apparently people think that this was such a mundane problem that it's not important whatsoever to the story, and it will actually never be mentioned ever again. So they told me that, yes, Goda took Mr. Rose and made the dinner with its rose petals. It was an unfortunate thing that couldn't have been predicted when it comes to that Goda used Mr. Rose specifically. Like, Goda didn't know that rose was special to Maria or anything like that. He thought it was just some random rose that he picked for the dinner. In fact, people told me that this was made even more apparent in the manga of Umineko, when they said that the manga showed Goda in the garden picking flowers, whereas in this we didn't really see him pick the flowers and all that. In the manga it was clearly shown that. And I was like, oh, well that's kind of a letdown. And you mean to tell me that this will never be mentioned ever again? Like, it will never be discussed and I'm supposed to believe that? Cause yeah, it is the most likely possibility. But where's the proof? And people told me that there isn't really much proof, only something that is pretty much accepted as the truth in the whole thing. Like, in my case, if I need to think about it and try and find some proof that Goda used Mr. Rose, maybe there will be some of Mr. Rose's remainings, like that candy wrap that George put on Mr. Rose to identify it, if you guys remember. Like, if we were to find that candy wrap inside the trash bin inside the kitchen, then that would be proof enough in my case. But I guess so. I get, like, people told me that it's never really confirmed, but it's rather like widely accepted as the truth, since it's not gonna be that important to the story anymore. Like, nonetheless, that is pretty much the explanation for Mr. Rose's incident. And people did tell me that not that many even came up with that possibility before, since it was that mundane. Like, people have either easily accepted that it was the wind, or they just completely forgot about the mystery, whereas I'm here talking about a freaking rose in the garden and all that, where I should be focusing on the epitaph and, and the whole mystery with the witches and the killings and all that. But no, I'm focusing on Mr. Rose because who knows, maybe it would be important to the story. It would shed some light on some things, but yeah, I guess so. You know what this means, ladies and gents? It means that I have solved my first mystery in Umineko. Yay! To think that in the past I have managed to solve some of the most convoluted murder cases in Danganronpa or Ace Attorney before the trials Or I, the Somnium Files, and I found out how the serial killer managed to do it before the protagonist. And here I am getting excited over solving possibly the easiest and most mundane mystery in this entire thing in a pool of mysteries with lots of theories and no evidence to back up anything. Move over, Murdoch! Okay, well, moving on, let's talk about the 72 demons. Now, this is something I'm gonna have to keep researching for a while. I didn't manage to go through all the ideas that I had in my head, but I will address at least a few of them. I have my Lesser Key of Solomon with me and checked a few things when it comes to the 72 demons, like the 72 demon friends that Beatrice apparently has. First off, I have found no mentioning of Baron Costello or Lambda Delta in this, at least from what I have seen. Second, those that Beatrice apparently summoned during the Tea Party, like Beelzebub and Asmodeus, they're not part of those 72 demons, but they are two of the 7 princes of hell, or as Beatrice called, the 7 stakes, which represent the 7 deadly sins, which include Lucifer, Mammon, Asmodeus, Leviathan, Beelzebub, Satan, and Belphegor. I do remember there was also Satan mentioned, who apparently was also summoned by Beatrice to stab Kanon during the Tea Party. So, yeah, on top of the 72 demons that Beatrice has, she apparently has the 7 deadly demons of hell to help her, which, from what I have seen, are the main source for the demon ice picks we keep finding at the crime scenes. So really, we have 79 demons to deal with, plus Beatrice, and eventually Baron Costello and Lambda Delta. Yay! Boy, we are fucked. But okay, at the very least I have checked on Gop, the 33rd ranked demon that Maria mentioned, that Beatrice could use Gop's help to get anywhere. And, well, sure enough, it does talk about Gop being able to carry from one place to another. And, well, Gop can also apparently make victims insensible or ignorant, and can cause love or hatred apparently, and answer everything in truth or read the future? Other than that, I cannot say that there is anything in this yet that can help me in understanding the situation, but it is something. At the very least, I can Wait, what's this? Appears in the form of a doctor when he takes on a human form? Aha! Okay, it may seem like I'm joking about this, but it may be worth pursuing. Then again, I don't know how legitimate this entry is of Gop, but who knows, maybe Nanjo is secretly Gop. Or being possessed by Gop, like who knows. Yeah, I mean, could shed some light on how the letter got inside the study that he was working for Beatrice. Even though I really don't want this. I mean, come on. I mean, look at him. Like, he's so soft. He's like a very soft grandpa that you would want. Like, I want to hug him and want him to be my grandpa. Moving along, I cannot say that I have much else to say about this. I mean, this whole Lesser Key of Solomon, like Goetia and 72 Demons research is something that cannot be done overnight. Like, I'm definitely gonna need time to go through it. One thing to say though is that I'm hoping to find an entry in this that tells me about how one of the 72 demons is capable of either possessing a human or controlling their mind and altering them to have creepy personalities, which would explain Maria's shift in personality and all that. That one of the 72 demons had a hand in this. And, well, that's about it. But before I move on, I gotta address this. The first demon on the list, Baal, has this to say about him. He appeareth in diverse shapes, sometimes like a cat, sometimes like a toad, and sometimes like a man, and sometimes all these forms at once. What? I think I'm gonna need a bigger notepad for this. Let's move on to one of the big ones, the Murder 6 case. Oh boy. And this one is also gonna contain some theories of mine that will also mention stuff like Fukuin Orphanage, the Key, and the Epitaph. And oh boy, the Epitaph. Cannot wait to get to that one. Okay, so let's begin. First of all, I am of the belief that if we are to find out what, or rather who, the key is, and eventually if we are to go back in time and stop them from murdering the first 6, assuming that it is one of the 18 humans on the island, then we will be able to stop the sacrificing, because so far the Twilights did seem to follow their order. Now, who could that key be? Well, it makes me think of the epitaph and what we might find at the end when the key is discovered. Kinzo wanted this epitaph to succeed, and obviously he must know what or who the key is. And at the same time, apparently he has this huge interest in the Fukuin orphanage, and he kept hiring young servants from there, including Shannon and Kana. And there were also mentions of Kinzo doing weird experiments on the orphans. What if the location of the key is Fukuin orphanage, and the key is either Shannon or Kana? Like, Kinzo finally managed, after hiring so many servants in the past, to find the right person to be the key. And that key person is the one that murdered the first 6. Like, Kinzo must have done something to Shannon or Kana to be a part of this. It is either Shannon, which we know she was inside the mansion at the time, which I really don't want it to be the case, or it is Kanon who did it and somehow he doesn't remember that he killed 6 people, including Shannon, which again, I really don't want it to be the case. This is my theory for both the Murder 6 case, the key, and the epitaph, which admittedly, it feels too easy for it to be the case, so until further notice, I'm having my doubts. Like, not to mention that, if the location of the key truly is Fukuin Orphanage, I feel like the cousins would have known to check that by now, and they surely would have mentioned that when discussing the epitaph at the beach, so yeah. Also, not to mention that our killer knew which key to use for the shutter. That would be in my favor. Like, the killer dumped the bodies inside the storage shed, and later Beatrice came in to destroy their bodies to hide the fact that it was a human that did this. The reason why Beatrice is hiding it is because the more we think that it was a human that did all this, the less we are to praise her name, and that is not what she wants. Also, I would like to mention once again my theory from before about our human killer using the Winchester to shoot the 6 in the head. The gunshots could also be masked by the thunder noises if they were loud. I mean, where was everyone? We know that Rudolph, Kyrie, Rosa, Kraus, Shannon and Gata were in the mansion, as far as we know. So were Kumasawa, Nanjo, Natsui, and Kinzo, as far as we know. Badler, Maria, Jessica, George, Kanon, Genji, Eva, and Hideyoshi, they were positioned in the guest house at the night, as far as we know. The location of each member at the time of murder is important, similar to what Baron Castell said. So, yeah. Is there like anything else that I'm gonna have to mention about this? Ah, yes, what if, if we were to think of Shannon as the killer, why did she die? Well, it could either be that maybe there's a second killer. Like, as I said before, maybe it's one killer that murdered all those 6 people, or it's a chain reaction of killers. Like, one person killed 3 or 4, and then another murderer came in to kill the initial murder, and then the final one gets to have its piece in the action by killing the last murderer, like the one before the last murder. You know what I mean. That, or like maybe Shannon was struck by guilt after killing so many people and she killed herself. Like, that could be an explanation. But here's the thing. She was hired as a servant like 10 years ago at the age of 6, and she remained here for 10 years as a Kinzo servant. And through that time span, a lot of servants came in, so if she were the key, why bother hiring other servants as well? Besides maybe hiding the fact that we would think of Shannon as the killer, like, Kinzo had to hire more people, otherwise we would suspect Shannon as the key. That or... stretching my imagination over here a little bit when it comes to like magic and such. Kinzo had to do a lot of research in trying to find the key, and he didn't realize until much later that Shannon was actually the key all along. And that's something that I'm thinking of, but it feels kind of stretchy, I don't know. That's also one of the reasons why I having my doubts that Shannon was the one that did it, that she's the key. Whereas for Kanon, it kind of makes more sense. I mean, he is one of the newest servants that was hired for the mansion, so he could be seen as the key. The fact that he doesn't remember killing those people is kind of questionable, but at the same time, not out of the realm of possibility, especially when it comes to magic and all that. Like, making somebody forget what they have done, like last night, that can be possible with magic. But okay, so I did say that my theory about the key seems a bit too easy, and I have my doubts about that, so next step was to look at the first part of the epitaph deeper. Way deeper. I believe the research I've done on this was a bit of a stretch, but if we're to go with the idea that the epitaph is going to be really hard to crack down, and even the cousins talked extensively about the possible locations that the epitaph is mentioning, then my plan of attack is to look at the words in the epitaph and follow the map based on those words. Buckle your seatbelts, people, because this is going to get wild. So, first off, the sweetfish. Kind of an interesting word, isn't it? It is like right there at the beginning of the epitaph, begging to be analyzed or something. It's like the word is just hogging for attention, ready to show off its naked tits, like Miui Roma with the Danganronpa fanbase, making them hard in the pants with her horny levels. Except the epitaph has all my attention, whereas Mew, I just ignore her. Sweetfish is also named Ayu, which are found and consumed in Eastern Asia, like near Japan, and they are mostly seen in freshwater lakes and rivers. Sweetfish is also written as yearfish, since it has a 1-year lifespan. It is the prefectural fish of Gunma and the Gifu prefecture. Also, the Japanese character for Ayu consists of 2 elements: sakana meaning fish, and uranai meaning fortune telling. Yeah, I told you that this was going to be wild. So, with all this knowledge, can we find any location of interest to us? Maybe a place with Ayu in it? I mean, there's the Ayukawa post office in Osaka. Nah. How about Ayumino in Osaka? Yeah. Okay, let's go with the word year, since sweetfish is also called yearfish. Year in Japanese is toshi. Are there any places with Toshi in the name that will be of high interest to us? I mean, there's Toshima City in Tokyo. That's something, but still not a lot to work with, like there aren't even any rivers here. Okay, well, what does Gunma Prefecture have to say? Not much. Well, wait a minute. What's this? Naramata Lake, Dogen Lake, and Lake Okutone. Well, I found an entry on Dogen Zenji, a Zen master. Okay, well, let's go back. What about the Gifu prefecture? Yeah, it does have some legs, but this feels like I am aimlessly wandering in the desert, like nothing really grabs my attention here. Okay, what about the 2 elements that form the Ayu word? I mean, there's the sakana fish. I could go with some alcohol and sakana. There's a lot of restaurants with the name sakana in them. I mean, makes sense. Uranai? Couldn't find any place with that as its name. Okay, at this point while I was doing this research, it got me thinking about Kinzo's hometown. Reason why I talked about Sweetfish was because it can pinpoint me to his hometown. We don't really know his hometown at this point, it does seem to be a bit of a secret among the cousins and all that. Like, he is part of a branch family, meaning he could have lived anywhere in Japan. Or it doesn't necessarily have to be in Japan? Like, maybe Kinzo is his new name, and he had his own name before that wasn't really Japanese, but something else. Maybe something English, or Like any other country besides Japan? In which case, I checked literally Sweetfish River. If there is a river called Sweetfish, nothing. Like, it would take me forever to check every language on the planet for Sweetfish to find a Sweetfish River in the respective country. And then I went for Freshwater River, because Sweetfish are freshwater fishes. And I do find Freshwater River in New Zealand. Okay, this does feel closer, but to be honest, I didn't really find anything important at the end of the river. Only this hut called Freshwater. Okay, well, since this is the first time I even checking on Freshwater, let's go back to Japanese and see what we can find for Freshwater, since Sweetfish didn't work so well. The Japanese for Freshwater is Tansui, and, well, there is Tamsui River, which does translate to Freshwater River, and it's located in Taiwan. Okay. I cannot say that this is leading me anywhere anyway. I mean, this one branches off into so many sections, I cannot even tell if any of them are important. Where am I? Ah yeah, I'm on the One Piece wiki. Okay, what about Kinzo's accomplishments in the past? We do know that he managed to get some profit from the emergency demands of the Korean War. Is there anything in Korea that would be of interest to us? Okay, well, let's try Sweetfish, which translated into Korean is Yunyo? Nothing on the map. Freshwater? Damsu. Nothing. Okay. Maybe the Korean War itself has something for me. Like, maybe one of the key locations of battle in the Korean War back then happened near a river or something. I mean, there's the Yalu River. It's basically the border between China and North Korea. It is just really long. Like, I followed it and I found Jangwo Residential District, Changpai Korean Autonomous County, Badagongjan, and there are like a couple of places that go through where the river goes through. Like, probably gonna have to check through those a little more, but at the end it leads to Heaven Lake. Okay. Though, yeah, this is also a bit of a stretch. Like, first off, the word yellow doesn't really say much when it comes to the Sweetfish lead. And there isn't really any village here at Haven Lake. But maybe it was before. Like, who knows? The lake also has a very nice name. It feels mystical. And hey, remember what we were talking about finding the key to the Golden Land? And how Maria keeps talking about the Golden Land where everyone is alive and happy, you get to reunite with the deceased and all? It sort of makes you feel like we're talking about heaven. Therefore, Heaven Lake. Therefore, magic. Alright, well, besides Heaven Lake, I'm gonna keep every single location I mentioned in my notepad in case any of the ones I mentioned may be important. For now, that about wraps it up for the epitaph. I have done so much research on this, I don't even know if what I'm saying is really that important. But yeah, I guess so. Let's move on to the next topic. And that topic is the Maldives couple case, which I've already talked about extensively after Eva and Hideyoshi's death, about the 6 possibilities that could have happened, which I'm gonna show again right here just to save some time. However, with what we learned thus far and thinking of something new here, let's add a couple more possibilities. Similarly to possibility number 6, which is a more magical possibility, we have possibility number 7, that Gap magically appeared in the room, stab, 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 and magically disappears. And this can work in conjunction with the possibility number 6 if both Beatrice and Gap teleported him, like, inside. And there's also possibility number 8, the 7 stakes magically went through the gap of the door as flying demon ice pigs, stab, 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 they magically disappear. And here's another possibility I'm gonna add, since, as you may notice, the possibilities number 2, 3, 4 mention one of the remaining 10. However, if there is a possibility that one of the first 6 murdered people actually faked their deaths somehow, then we can definitely say that one of the first 6 murdered, who faked their death, killed Eva and Hideyoshi in any of the ways mentioned in possibilities 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now, I would say that there isn't much that I'm gonna add here, since besides what Beatrice showed us with Asmodeus and Beelzebub at the tea party, I would say that there isn't much to add till we get to find further evidence the next round. But there is one thing to question, and that is the magical symbol on the door that appeared after Kanon came back with the cutter. Maria told us that Beatrice can summon Gap to instantly carry her wherever she wants. And Maria later told us that magic symbol on the door says that it allows you to go through it no sweat. Not only that, but the symbol appeared after Kanon and Genji had showed up at the door and were worried about Eva and Hideyoshi, which could mean that both Eva and Hideyoshi were already dead, so what would be the point? My guess is a human could have done it via possibilities number 2, 3, 4, 5, or 9. And then similarly to Murder 6 case, Beatrice or Gap or the 7 Stakes, whoever, came inside to stab the already dead Eva and Hideyoshi in the head after Kanon and Genji went away to get everyone at the scene of the crime. Now question is, if a human murdered them before, and then Beatrice, Gap or the 7 Stakes came in, then where is the initial wound? Well, it could be that Eva and Hideyoshi were stabbed with normal knives before, or shot in the head with a gun, and then afterwards came the demon ice picks to stab in the heads to hide the initial death blow, similarly to what I discussed for the Murder 6 case. If this was a normal knife, then it can easily be disposed of. If it was a gun though, unless there is a different new gun in the mansion, it is improbable since the gun was with Natsuhi all the time in the parlor, and she did not move 1 inch at all time. So yeah, that is what I had to say for the Maldives couple case for now. Let's move on to the Brothers Revenge case, and I cannot say that I have much to add here, other than it was either the witch or the demons, or it could be like what Battler mentioned, and Kanon activated a trap that released that demon ice pick. I mean, it would have explained the weird sound that happened there, which, by the way, I'm still questioning that kind of sound that happened when Kanon got stabbed. It was described as a woodpecker trying to make a hole in the wall or something, but I don't know. I always imagined that Beatrice was in the dark with a metal spoon in one hand and a pot in the other hand, and she was banging the pot with the spoon like really fast, followed by her saying, "Dinner is ready," and then she stabbed Kanon. Now, since there is another exit in the boiler room to outside the mansion, it does make me question if one of the humans did it, and it was said that everyone's position was known at that point, thus they keep thinking it was Beatrice. But I don't know about that one. I don't know about everyone's position. We at least know that the culprit ran away when Battler gave chase. Who was inside the boiler room at the time Battler started running after the culprit? Kumasawa was the first one inside the room. Natsuhi and Battler then came afterwards. Natsuhi sent Genji after the doctor, so surely Genji is not the culprit. So really, it could have been anyone else as long as they were the first ones to enter the boiler room before Kanon, and then left through the exit outside the mansion. So the ones still standing, like George, Jessica, Maria, Nanjo, or Kinzo, could have done it. Now I say Kinzo because he could have faked his own death too, which, since I'm thinking of that, might as well add another possibility to the Maldives couple case. Possibility number 10. Kinzo, the head of the family who faked his death, killed Eva and Hideyoshi in any of the ways mentioned in possibilities 2, 3, 4, and 5. Let's talk about the headmaster disappearance case. Now, the one thing I want to mention is something I already discussed at the tea party. Just because the dead body has 6 toes doesn't mean that it truly was Kinzo, as long as nothing else was left to identify him. Kinzo or anybody else could have used a different body with 6 toes to make us think it was Kinzo. Other than that, not much else to say on that, but let's talk about Kinzo and the study room case. Now, for the study room case, the one that put the letter inside could either be Beatrice or the 7 Stakes, or could be Gap, who is Nanjo, or controlling Nanjo, that put the letter there, as we discussed before, with the 72 demons. That is what I'm thinking for now. Okay, that's all great, but I think the most important question we have to address here is, why did Kinzo put the scorpion symbol on the doorknobs of his study room? Why? Why, oh why, would he do that? Cause this is something that I seriously couldn't get back when the panic was happening in the study room. If he believed in his epitaph, and that everyone gets resurrected by the end of it all, why have himself be locked in the room like that? His goal is for no one else to solve the epitaph before Beatrice's revival. In order for someone to stop the revival of the witch, the condition would be to find the hidden gold and stop the murdering. And yet, he tried to stay alive despite going against the epitaph. So, why? Well, let's start with the beginning and establish some things. He put the scorpion symbols on the doorknobs. That is fact. He knows that the scorpion symbol is used to repel all evil, including Beatrice. That is fact. So he used the scorpion symbols to protect himself from any evil coming aside, which can include Beatrice. That is fact. Therefore, he wanted to stay alive, but maybe not for long. The answer could be as simple as this. As long as he didn't die because of the first 8 twilights, Beatrice gets revived, Kinzo would be able to see Beatrice once more, and he would get the chance to use one of the 4 treasures, as it is mentioned at the end of the epitaph. Now, it cannot be the resurrection of all the dead souls, because, well, Beatrice is not dead. So he wanted the resurrection of the love that was lost. Huh. Oh, that's interesting. I mean, remember the end result of the first season, when the credits rolled. Maria chose the lost love of her mother, since Maria thought that her mother didn't love her. Same can be said about Beatrice. Maybe something happened in the past that made Beatrice not the way she used to be like before, when she left Kinzo, and thus, because of some unfortunate event, Beatrice changed and is now killing everyone, including Kinzo, without her thinking of that lost love, and Kinzo wants to resurrect that? Huh, that's something. Now, she's still being a bitch. Alright, well, I think that will wrap up my investigation for the day. I know that I haven't really talked much about his disappearance when the whole receipt thing happened, and that is because I don't really have any other theory other than the one that Battler mentioned back in Season 1 Episode 23, which calmed everyone down. Even though Kinzo disappearing on his own completely goes back against what I discussed before about the scorpion symbol, and him staying locked in his room. My theory is that he was forced to get out of the study room. Maybe Kinzo got a letter, was shocked by what the letter had to say, and it was then when Eva and Natsui entered, he hid himself, and then left the study room while Natsui and Eva looked around. But that would mean that somebody else killed him after that and put him in the boiler room. Like, otherwise, him faking his death and staying out there in the field, ready to get killed by Beatrice like a chicken with its head cut out, goes against my theory from before about him staying in the study room till the revival. It's not impossible, but it is questionable. Other than that, I think I'm done here. So, let's begin part 2 by saying my thoughts about Umineko thus far. I have to say that Umineko has me hooked. By the end of the first season, I surely was thinking, okay, you clearly are offering me something interesting here. An old-fashioned murder mystery inside a mansion with a rich family and servants, with magic on top that makes it 10 times more difficult. Cause when you have a good old-fashioned murder mystery with no magic, your brain keeps thinking about the most logical realistic possibilities that could have happened, that they could have done by humans. Like in Danganronpa or Ace Attorney or Zero Escape, to some extent, the Somnium Files. Whereas here, since magic exists, you have to keep fighting against the easiest conclusion, and still try to fight with your own possibilities done by humans. prove that the murders were done by humans, and not only that, disprove the possibility of magic being used, cause, well, anything can be possible with magic. There is the dilemma that people like Jessica or George want to believe that it was the witch because, of course, they don't want to believe that one of their beloved family or servants did any of this. Battler knows this, but he still tries his best to not fall in any possible trap and think of how a human could have done it, because he ain't gonna trust Beatrice, he's not gonna praise her name, and same case is for me. I am not gonna believe anything of what Beatrice is telling me. I cannot trust that what she's saying is the truth, so I'm gonna reach my own truth, one way or another. Like, this is an interesting dilemma that I have never met before. And, well, with that being said, I am curious how things are gonna go. Like, Umineko has offered me all of this mystery, which I talked about for more than half an hour at this point, with not much to go on but theories, and the first episode made you feel so miserable by the end of it with everyone getting murdered. Like, it made me feel sad for everyone's death and anger at Beatrice, since she is the big mastermind of this entire thing that is pulling the strings. In the end, it raised some deep emotions in me. But now, Umineko, you have a big challenge. You've shown that you can make me feel these emotions deeply, and you have thrown me all of these mysteries for me to solve. But now, you are gonna have to prove that you're good at delivering the end result of your mysteries. You have thrown your player into the abyss, and now you have to make your player come back from the abyss and have them enact their revenge on you by solving your mystery and making them feel happy and satisfied when the player or the protagonist solves the mystery. It's like when Battler came in to save Natsuhi by telling his possibility back when she was getting accused by Eva of killing Kinzo. And you're all, yeah! Like, that is what I want to see you do, Umineko, but bigger. It has to be huge! Of course, on the way to that, there's going to be more sad moments, no doubt about that. But you have to be smart about it, Umineko. You cannot just make the player sad all the time. Otherwise, though, what would be the point? You have to have some balance. Hope, despair. Hope, despair. You better deliver on your mysteries. Like, I have faith in you. You have beaten me in the first episode, making me feel like I was Beatrice's bitch. But I will come back stronger. Especially since this is gonna be a long adventure, I mean, oh boy. Like, those of you who already went through Umineko and are fans of it already know. But I don't think I ever mentioned this to those of you who are watching this game for the first time. I know some people who are viewing this for the first time, in which case, I guess I should tell you how long Umineko really is. Like, in terms of me doing a playthrough of it, I want you to check the playlist of Umineko right now and see how many parts and how long each video is. I am pretty curious how many minutes the first season has, and compare it with other adventures I've done on our channel. Like, I was thinking that the length of the first episode is just as long as 999 alone, but I don't think so. I believe, however, that it is as long, if not longer, than Danganronpa Ultra Despair Girls and the first 4 cases of the first Ace Attorney games. Like, this is something I will have to see in my spare time, but nonetheless, what I have done thus far is episode 1. Guess how many episodes Umineko has? Just take a guess. And now I will give you the answer to that. 8. There are 8 of these motherfuckers in total. That is how huge this game is. And when doing a let's play of this, no doubt that it will go past 200 videos. Like, as Battle would say, Jesus! I have also been told that a lot of the characters in this game have like hundreds of sprites for each of them. And the songs, oh my god, the songs. Like, I can tell you that thus far, in the first episode, around 45 songs have been used. And you would think that they're gonna keep reusing these ones, like, only for the rest of the game. But it just keeps going. Like, unless I'm wrong about this, there's like 200 of these motherfuckers. And the songs so far have been great, and some even left me surprising. I mean, when you think about murder mysteries with a mansion and rich families and servants and teas and like the old times, you would imagine like classy songs like Moonlit Night. Like the violin or the piano or something classy over there. But nah, apparently Umineko also has the range to also have songs of the same high intensity as those you would find in a Danganronpa trial, like System Zero, which, by the way, that one apparently has a Star Trek reference. You know, the voices that you hear at the beginning of the song? those are apparently taken from some Star Trek show. Like, I don't know, I have little to no experience with the Star Trek. From the start, I had been told that this was going to be a long journey, and people kept saying that this was a bit of a heavy read. Not only because of its complexity in writing, but the sheer length of Umineko itself. Taking like more than 100 hours to read. Like, no wonder I didn't hear much of Umineko before I started this on the channel, because something like this is definitely not easy to get into. Like, it takes its time to build up. It definitely hadn't reached a wide mainstream popularity the way Danganronpa and Ace Attorney have had. Like, there are two types of people that apparently my viewers had made it clear while I was working on episode 1. Those who have tried to go through episode 1 but was too taxing for them, or saw the length of Umineko and were intimidated by it. And those who have managed to go through the entirety of Umineko and they have described it as the best visual novel they have ever read in their entire life. Like, no doubt you may end up hearing people out there playing through an entire game of Danganronpa and Ace Attorney that they go through the entirety of one game of Danganronpa and Ace Attorney, and they might end up saying, meh, it was alright. But if you are to ask every person who played through the entirety of Umineko, they are never gonna say, meh, it was alright. Like, there is no middle ground. Apparently everyone who went through Umineko has become a die-hard fan. Those who have been dedicated to going through the entirety of it. At least, that is what I have been told. What can I say about the characters? I found most of them quite enjoyable, while the rest were quite serviceable. For the first episode, that is. I mean, there isn't much I can say about people like Rudolph or Kraus, since they died early and most of what we got out of them were their talks of the money inheritance. The business side of things. I mean, at this point, I'm pretty sure we're gonna see more of them in the future, if we are to go back in time or reset the game. And who knows, if things go differently, those that died early will end up surviving more, and thus we get to see more of them. Like, it does seem that through some episodes we may end up having specific characters that will be centered around. Like, there is no doubt that one of the more prominent characters in the first episode, in the first season, was Natsuki. I mean, that poor woman went through so much and in the end died tragically at the hands of Beatrice. She had a lot of screen time in this, that's for sure. And I'm curious where they're gonna go from here with her. But chances are that maybe the second episode that I will begin soon enough will take a step back from Natsuki and other more prominent characters, with some few moments for them to expand on their characters, but more so try and delve into characters that didn't have as much screen time. Like, maybe Rudolph is gonna end up surviving longer, and thus we're gonna deal with some, you know, father and son issues, or figure out how he knew that he was gonna die in the first episode, since he actually told us that right before the first day ended and the massacre happened. Maybe we're gonna see more of Goda. Maybe we're actually gonna have more of Kirie and actually help us in figuring out the mystery, since in the first episode, whether she was dead or we see her in flashbacks, she was like Battler's mentor in solving mysteries. What with the spinning the chessboard mentality and all, she was similar to Mia Fey in Ace Attorney. Hopefully we'll get to see more of Rosa and how she's gonna react to the entire thing of Maria basically worshipping Beatrice. See like some form of redemption moment for Rosa to gain Maria's love once more and become the great mom that Maria deserves. Rosa basically slapping Beatrice in the face and telling her, "Bitch, be gone!" Despite the brutal moment that Rosa and Maria had in the garden, I do have some faith in Rosa that she'll, in the end, learn and keep in control and basically show that she loves Maria and will go to the end of the road to protect Maria. Right now though, she seems to be in a very bad spot right now. She's probably super stressed with whatever their situation is at home and how Maria acts at times, and now with the whole family inheritance, plus the fact that nobody knows who her husband is, which also breaks Rosa's image. I am curious where they're gonna go with her. With that being said, there definitely seems to be a battle of the mobs. I have never witnessed something like that in any other adventure. Who is going to be the reigning champion by the end of it all? Natsuki, Rosa, Kirie, Eva? So far, it does seem that Natsuki is at the top. Better pick up the pace, the rest of you ladies. The fathers though, there doesn't seem to be that much of a competition, like Hideyoshi truly is the reigning champion for fathers.
Alright, well, I've done what I have done. Although, I feel like something is missing here.
Oh, no doubt you feel that way.
Huh. I completely forgot that you died.
You wished I was dead? You have a lot to explain, mister.
What is there to explain? I mean, it is that simple. You got wrecked by the Witch of the Island.
Oh, now you're trying to hide yourself from your actions, eh? Don't play dumb with me. You are the one who stabbed me back there.
What makes you think I was the one who stabbed you? I wasn't there outside the mansion when he got stabbed.
I see. So you're saying that I'm the dumb one, eh? Telling me that the undead skeleton with a suit and fedora that stabbed me in the head, who also hates me, was not actually you, eh? That you have an alibi for the time the incident happened, eh? Yeah, that's what I thought. You are the only one who knows my weakness. Stabbing me in the head precisely where you knew it would temporarily deactivate me. And I can't even get this out of my head without activating my self-destruct mode.
I think that there is a misunderstanding here,
Tell that to the judge when I'll send your bony ass in court for this. You freaking...
Like I said, I think that there is a misunderstanding here. You seem to believe that you can just waltz in here and do whatever you want. Now, you won't bother me anymore.
Noby, we have to talk. Misha, no!
Distrust. It always exists in stories like this. When one person is murdered, some seeds of suspicion will grow inevitably, and if not handled carefully, it will create chaos, massacre. I'm not gonna say that this is the first time I experienced a mass murder case. Oh no. The nonary games I have been in the past have been merciless on that front. The rules in the nonary games were quite different. Complete escape rooms, fulfill specific requirements, and escape the facility you're in via a final door with the number 9 in it. These nonary games don't require people to get killed, but inevitably it always happens. With high body count at that. You would think I got desensitized after all that. However, even after experiencing the first round of murders on Okenjima Island, it still wasn't easy to digest at the time. This was different. A battle between humans and witches is not something I thought I would ever encounter in my journeys, filled with mysteries to solve. And yet, here I was, mysteries on top of mysteries, fighting alongside Battler on the human side, fighting against the one thing that offered me comfort prior to this. Magic. At that point, I wasn't sure how I felt about this new development. When the second day reached its conclusion, I felt angry, and afterwards sad. But eventually I picked up the pace and continued the investigation. I wasn't sure at the time where things would go. A lot of questions in the bag with little to no answers. The epitaph, the role of the witches, and to top it all off, Monokuma's hidden culprit. When all was said and done, I ended the day with one final question in mind. This reminded me of a famous question from a person who apparently was a die-hard fan of Grape Fantas. Do robots have dicks? Except here, he replaced the word dicks with blood, and because of that, Something was telling me that I wasn't gonna like the answer I was seeking.